Well, hello, and welcome back to Kimmel and Cox, your source for all things entertainment. I'm Keith Cox. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Dylan Kimmel.
Hey.
And if this is your first time joining us, we're glad you're here. But be sure to go back and check out some of our previous episodes. We're on episode 10 now. Can you believe it?
Episode 10. Wow, we're in the double digits.
Yes, already 10 episodes in. That is crazy. We're just rolling right along. Have a little announcement for you guys. Dylan, as you know, a couple of months ago, I was fortunate enough to be a special guest on another podcast. It's called Peanut Butter Magic, and it's hosted by our friend and fellow filmmaker Brandon Austin, along with his friend Suelo. It's a really good little podcast. They're actually in season 2 right now, so they've been doing this for a little bit. But Brandon was kind enough to invite me on his show and just to talk to me a little bit about my acting career so far, how I got started, and he just kind of wanted to pick my brain about some different things in the business, because him coming at it from a director-writer standpoint, kind of like you, Dylan, yes. He was interested in kind of knowing my thoughts about some different things on the performing side of things. And so it's a great interview. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So be sure to check that out. It is up now on YouTube and Spotify, and we'll be sure to include a link down below in the video's description so you guys can go and watch that.
Definitely inspiring stuff there. Very much worth the watch.
Yeah. Great couple of guys there. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about the movie Tenet, which is it's a very different kind of spin on the whole time travel thing. We've seen a lot of time travel movies over the years. Some really excellent and some terrible. But this was a nice change of pace, actually.
As I was describing it to you and to my mom, it's kind of like if you were to watch Back to the Future from the point of view of Biff. Specifically, I'd say Back to the Future Part 2.
Right. Yeah, because there was a lot going on in that movie in particular, because you had all these timelines that were coming together, and you know, I hadn't really thought about it that way before until you said that, because I'm like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense, because if you were looking at it from the perspective of someone who is not actually traveling through time, you're going to see all this chaos going on around you and wondering, like, what the hell is going on here? Like, why is my world suddenly turned upside down?
Yeah.
And you know, all of these timelines are crisscrossing with each other. And so this movie, we actually get to see that played out and how that might possibly work in the real world.
Yeah.
So the movie was released on September 3rd, 2020.
In the wake of COVID.
Yes, this was actually, I believe, the first movie released during the pandemic.
Unfortunately, COVID did impact its box office revenue.
Yeah, as it did with a lot of movies that were released for a while after that. Written and directed by Christopher Nolan,
my favorite filmmaker.
Best known to most people, I would think, for the Dark Knight trilogy.
Which I have to say this. Christopher Nolan is probably, I mean, of course I've seen countless movies before this, but it was probably Christopher Nolan, the fact that he directed a superhero movie, Batman Begins, and then the rest of the movies.
Right.
It was that movie in particular because when I was younger, I would pretty much just eat up only superhero stuff. Video games, superhero...
Yeah.
And superhero video games are very, very bad. Very, very bad. So just to be, just strictly superhero stuff, it was him that actually transitioned me into wanting to watch more than just that, because there is a lot more. If you are a shut-in,
if you're in that zone right now where you're just your world is nothing but comic book movies and stuff like that, I encourage you, get out there and experience more of the cinematic world, because there's
way more
so much
out
there to appreciate. Yeah.
And it was definitely Christopher Nolan that got me into wanting to observe more and indulge in more than just that.
Yeah.
Because it was he brought me in with the superhero movie, and then he showed me outside of it.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to do it. You kind of suck people in with the popular stuff, the things that you feel like everybody's going to want to see and enjoy, and then you're like, okay, this guy's really good. He obviously makes a good movie, and so then you want to see more from that director and see, well, what can he do with something else, like with a different genre.
Yeah.
The movie stars John David Washington, son of Denzel Washington.
That is also like mind-boggling to me, because here's the funny thing. If you shut your eyes, you swear you're hearing Denzel Washington.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. As I was watching the movie, I was like, if I just close my eyes and listen, you would swear it was Denzel. Doesn't really look a whole lot like his dad, but
it certainly sounds like him.
Yeah, you can definitely tell they're related. The movie also stars Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, Dimple Kabadia, the ever so talented Michael Caine, and Kenneth Branagh. So another really stellar cast in this movie.
I mean, Christopher Nolan, he makes the best cast. Every movie he does is like, he really crafts a wonderful cast. He knows exactly who is a great actor, and if you're in a Christopher Nolan movie, it's hands down, you're a great actor.
Yeah, and obviously he wanted to work with people that he had worked with before, which I assume explains the inclusion of Michael Caine, because Michael Caine played Alfred in the Dark Knight movies.
And he's been in pretty much every Christopher Nolan movie since Batman Begins.
Yeah,
even as just a voice in Dunkirk.
But yeah, it's a good movie. It's really enjoyable to watch. Just like nonstop action and thrills and suspense, and it's like I spent the better part of the movie trying to figure out exactly what was going on.
You won't be able to until the very end.
Yeah, and you told me it was going to be like that, so I was prepared. But it is. It's a little confusing. But as I started, watching, eventually I was kind of putting the pieces together, and I was like, okay, well, I got the time travel aspect of it. That was pretty easy to figure out. But they don't really explain a whole lot in the movie as far as like what's going on. Most movies sort of, you kind of have some exposition there, and they really sort of set up the action, who the characters are. Yeah. But this is one of those where you're like, you're trying to figure out who the characters are, what are their connections to each other, and
this is what I like about Christopher Nolan. He does not play the audience as dumb. So he will not do exposition the way you want him to.
Yeah.
He gives the audience the benefit of the doubt. If he will treat you as if you are smart, and if you're not smart, I am sorry, you're lost.
You're out of luck. Yeah. But that's good. I like I kind of like when directors do that, when they just trust the audience that they know what's going on and that they can figure this out for themselves. But it was a lot of fun to watch. It definitely keeps you hooked in, and some great action sequences in there. Great car chase, and you all will learn as we go along in this podcast. I'm a sucker for a good car chase. You'll understand why a little bit. Like later on down the road, some of the things we'll be talking about. But yeah, if you can squeeze a good car chase into a movie, that's instantly like a thumbs up for me.
Especially if it's practical.
Yes, especially if you don't use a lot of CGI, or better yet, no CGI, and just do everything.
And Christopher Nolan is very, very astute about CGI. He will not use CGI if he can help.
Yeah, and speaking of that, another really good sequence in the film involves a 747.
Yes,
which
that is not a miniature.
No, it is not. There's no special effects there, no CGI. It's all done practically, and I won't give away the sequence there, but it's pretty cool. And as I was watching, because I'm usually really good at being able to pick out whether something is done, in camera for real or not.
Yeah.
And as I was watching, I was like, that's a real plane. Like, they are really doing this. It's like that's a lot of money, involved in that, just to do that one scene. And I'm sure they could only do it once. Usually a complicated setup like that, usually you only get one shot at it.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of really cool action sequences in there. So the really interesting thing to me about this movie, and the way that it sort of turns time travel on its head, and if you think about it from a logical standpoint, I suppose it could work this way in reality. I don't know, but basically, whenever two time periods are intersecting with each other in this movie, one set of characters is actually moving backwards.
Yes.
The characters, the action, everything going on around them is moving backwards, while the other set of characters is moving forward. So I thought that was a really different kind of way to portray that, and what would that actually look like in our reality?
It does. It does kind of hurt your brain a little bit there too, because
it's weird. It sort of confuses the senses a little bit. Like, as you're watching, like, it's like messing with your brain, because it's really cool the way they did it. Like, I'm not sure how they made that work, where you could literally have forward motion and reverse motion in the same shot.
I admit I did not watch the special features, so I have no idea yet. I should have watched the special features just before this, but I didn't. I failed. I failed you. I failed you, Anakin. I failed you.
But yeah, I that was the one. It's like you're almost. I wouldn't watch the movie if you have a headache or anything like that, because it's going to make it way worse. Because it's like overload for the brain a little bit.
Probably wouldn't do it on acid either.
No. No substances while watching a movie like this, because it will not only impair your ability to figure out what's going on, but you're gonna think you're tripping out or something. Be like, yeah, it's like, no, this is the way the movie is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So like the basic plot of the movie is John David Washington's character, who is just known as the protagonist. He is a CIA operative who is basically trying to take down this Russian oligarch, which is played by Kenneth Branagh. Again, they don't really explain a whole lot about what's going on. It takes you a little bit to figure out what his role is in this, but he is recruited by a secret agency that is only known as Tenet, which is where the film's title comes from.
And it's very interesting, the name Tenet, because it is the same backwards and frontwards, which means it goes in line with this whole story, because there's backwards and forwards motions here and there.
It makes perfect sense.
I mean, if someone going through that time travel thing were to say Tenet, it would just come out the exact same.
Yeah, and Kenneth Branagh's character, Andre Sater, is basically he's communicating with the future. And so they're basically wanting to get to the bottom of some things that he's up to, because they feel like the things that he is doing could be dangerous. Could basically put the safety of the world at risk.
Yeah.
And so they recruit the protagonist to go after him, and that's basically the gist of what's going on in the movie. And then throughout that process, they discover the protagonist, along with his handler Neil, which is Robert Pattinson's character. They discovered this time travel device. Basically, it operates like a turnstile, or kind of like a revolving door. When they get inside this device and it turns around, then when they come out, it's like it inverts everything. And so that's where you get the backwards and forwards, and like bullets will come out of windows and other objects instead of like going into them.
Yeah.
It's like literally everything is moving backwards. It's crazy.
It does really hurt your brain, because you're thinking, wait, but
like,
if that
like, did they get shot, or were they unshot?
Where'd the bullet hole come from? Like, how did the bullet hole get there?
Fire turns into ice because of the.
Well, that makes sense in a way. That does make sense. Because the interesting thing is that for this movie, and also for movies like Avengers Endgame, where time travel was involved, what they did is they actually did talk to scientists, actual people that are experts in like the time stuff and everything. And if time travel were real, this is what it would be like. So it's not completely. It is fiction, but it's not completely based on ludicrous.
Right.
Hubbub.
Well, I think time travel movies in the past have always focused on something that they feel like everybody could more easily understand. Like
much more fantastical and
in an ideal world, if time travel did exist, we would all hope that it would be the way that we're used to seeing, where literally you could just use some kind of a machine, or device, and literally just go back in time, and everything would still be the same, except for the fact that you're in a different time period.
Well, they did bring up a very good point in this movie, the Godfather paradox. And the paradoxes are so maddeningly confusing. And I'd say that, because even Back to the Future had to deal with paradoxes.
Right. It's like if you alter the course of history, like if you go back in time and you change something that happened, how will that look in the future? Does it actually affect, the future? But then they get into alternate timelines, and that's where that comes in. Is like, well, no, it doesn't necessarily affect your current future, but it could affect the future in another timeline. It's like it's really confusing and crazy to think about. I mean, that kind of blows your mind. But yeah.
I love time travel movies, though. They're really interesting. They're really exciting. I guess I'm a sucker for getting really confused because I love Christopher Nolan movies, and a lot of them tend to be confusing sometimes. They dive really deep into that sci-fi. What in the world is going on here? And you don't really know until the very end, which you even mentioned earlier before we started that you saw a little bit of that kind of latched onto me when I'm writing. So
yeah, you can definitely see that it's your unique sense of humor and just way of looking at things, and having characters that are really unusual and quirky, and so there would be a lot of things I noticed in your scripts that would just kind of like suddenly would kind of make you scratch your head and be like, what You know? Yeah, what is going on here?
So that answers my dad's.
It's like weird in a good way.
Yeah, like my dad had said to me, he's like, I don't understand your writing. he actually said that to me. He said, you're really good at all this stuff, but I just don't understand what's going on.
But you could, I mean, you could probably take that as a compliment.
Oh yeah, it's especially when I know now that some of my influences, Christopher Nolan being one of them. Yeah, you probably would get confused. So I'll take it in stride.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's I think that's a good thing. You want to be different. You want to set yourself apart from other people out there. You don't want to always be making just what's popular. You don't want to pander to the masses all the time. You want to make films that you enjoy and whether
I like
else
movies where the audience can take it from different points of views. Like one person would view it saying, "Oh, this movie was all about this, this, and this," right? But then another person comes around and he's like, "No, I thought it was like this."
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And both opinions are completely logical and completely accurate, and they're both true.
Yeah. That's I think that's what movies are kind of meant to do anyway, is that everybody can come at it from their own individual perspectives, and they all see it a different way, and no way is necessarily the right way. It's you see it the way you see it, and that's the way you enjoy it, and that's what makes these discussions so great, is because we can come at it from different points of view, and it's sometimes you can agree on things, and other times you're like, no, I don't really think I don't agree. I don't think that's what's going on here. But as you watched this movie, like looking at it from like a writer-director standpoint, what were some of the things that really stood out to you, or is there anything where, I don't know if you do that when you watch movies, like was there anything that, say you were directing this movie, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I don't think there would have been anything I would have done differently. To be honest with you, I probably would have done everything the exact same, but if I were to do it, I'm no Christopher Nolan, so it probably would end up different. Just by the person I am. The writing, like Christopher Nolan wrote the script himself, and the writing is very, very, what's the word? It's very elaborate. It's very complex. Yeah. And only a genius would be able to write something like this. It's one of those things where it's one of those movies where I'm like, where in the world is he going to go next? Because all of his movies, there ends up being some all of his movies actually have like good scores, like unbelievable scores. The lowest rating he has is of the movie Prestige, and it's 71%. That's not bad.
No.
All the others have been like 71% to 98, I think. And so his creativity, his presence is very much felt. And the thing is that when he's directing this, he is. I'm just going through what he might be telling the actors, because he has to tell them, the actors must be just as confused as we are, because his scripts, when he has a script, it is under lock and key. So they only get their parts. Like I remember reading something like Michael Caine was on set for only that one day because he only has like one scene, and he said, I have no idea what it's about. None. So the actors are under secrecy just as much as I'd assume even the cast and crew. And here's the funny thing. Christopher Nolan knows how to keep a secret so well that he knows when someone is keeping a secret. Because I don't know if you know this. So they were filming this right when Robert Pattinson was cast as Batman.
Okay. Yeah.
And Robert Pattinson came to Nolan and he says, "I gotta go. There is a family emergency I have to attend." And he looks at him and he says, "You got the part of Batman, didn't you?"
He knew.
He knew. So,
and funny enough, because this movie came out a couple of years before the Batman, and if you had told me then, if you had told me that Robert Pattinson was going to be the next Batman, based on like watching him in Tenet, I wouldn't have seen it. Like I couldn't, I wouldn't have been able to picture that.
Yeah.
And of course, again, I only really knew him, from the Twilight movies, which I'd only seen like bits and pieces of.
His performance in this is a lot better, I'd say.
Oh, definitely is. But I still didn't necessarily think that he was at that point that he was Batman material. He just he didn't really have the look.
This character is a little bit more not necessarily cocky, but he's a lot more vibrant, I guess.
Yeah. But definitely great performance from him as well. And Elizabeth Debicki plays Kat Barton, who when the protagonist is trying to figure out how to get to Sator, Michael Caine's character, Michael Crosby, is he's like a British intelligence officer, and he sort of points him in the right direction, and he suggests going to Kat to get to Sator because she is his like estranged wife. I guess she's actually his ex-wife, and so they figure get to him by going through her. And all of those performances are really great. Kenneth Branagh is almost unrecognizable in this. Like he looks like he put on a few pounds for this role. Like I didn't actually at first didn't realize that it was him.
Well, he's one of those actors that is definitely a chameleon. Like when you hire Kenneth Branagh, you're hiring an actor's actor.
Yeah.
He has his background in theater, and like you said before, the theater is like the birthplace of great actors. Honestly,
yeah, it's done a lot of Shakespeare and things like that, and it really, if you can do something with Shakespeare, you can do almost anything because Shakespeare, to me anyway, it's very complex and
I actually did Shakespeare once.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I played the what was it, the nurse or whatever in Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
I gave her a hunchback. Afterwards, one of the of course this was in school, and then one of the classmates says, the teacher starts asking about the nurse or whatever, like what can we say about it? And then I guess that is the testament of a great actor, everyone. If you end up putting in something and then everyone's like, they have that, then because that's what they say. It's like, she's a hunchback, and then the teacher's like, only in the Dylan Kimmel production is
right.
she.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes me a great actor, honestly, but
certainly makes you a creative one. It's like, I'm really going to make this character my own. But
what better way to make her a hunchback?
But he's pretty vicious in this movie. But yet he has a certain, like a lot of villains do. He does have a certain vulnerability to him, like that.
He's not the mustache twirling villain. He is very complex. He's very broken. We find out later on that he's actually dying of cancer, and so I feel like he might feel. He ultimately feels very alone, because if you look at it from his point of view, he feels betrayed by even his wife.
Right. because he says at one point in the movie, he's like, if I can't have you, nobody else can. And so you get the sense that he almost feels like everything he has could slip away from him at any moment, and maybe that is the reason why he is the way that he is, why he's so angry all the time, and because he just doesn't want to lose everything that he's built up. And of course, ultimately in the end, he does get kind of get what's coming to him. But
kind of a brutal death too.
Yeah, I was like, wow, yeah,
hit the rail. And
I know. I was
Ow.
like, ooh. That's one of those scenes that makes you cringe when you watch it a little bit. You're just like, ooh, yeah.
Sure.
But
I mean, honestly, I was trying to give the villain in one of our short films a very crucial death, but I don't think I pulled it off when I saw this.
well, it's yeah. I mean, that was definitely unexpected, and the way she just kind of slid him off the deck, like a fish, like a dead fish or something. It was pretty bad.
Oh, and did you notice that they actually tied up the body to the boat when they pulled away?
Yeah, I did catch that. I was like, wow, man, they really just that was like a last little.
I certainly hope that body doesn't get hit by the propeller when they land. Oh, that's a very morbid joke.
It's one thing. Yeah, it's one thing to kill somebody, but man, drag them behind your boat. That's like a last little fu. Like, that's like the kind of people that. Will shoot somebody and they know they're dead, but then they'll still put 6 more bullets in them.
The reason for that, I'd say, is because they needed the proof that the body is dead, for the military and everything. So
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But certainly a really enjoyable movie to watch, and like I said, all of the performances are great. Mm-hmm. It's you were talking about the whole thing about the script, being so secretive, and the actors not even having access to the scenes other than the ones they were in. Actually, I think that's a good way of doing things, really. Yeah. Every actor kind of has a different method when they're reading a script. Mm-hmm. Now, up to this point, my habit has always been to read the entire script all the way through. Yeah. Like, I want to read it as if I am watching the finished film. So I want to try to get a sense of the entire story. I want to know about all of the different characters, not just the one that I'm playing. But I don't know what's really better, in that sense. Like, as far as getting better performances out of your actor, I don't know if it's better to do it the way that I do, so I have context and so I know. Yeah. Or if you only read, because a lot of actors say they only memorize and read the scenes that they're in, right? Because they kind of feel like, just like in real life, they wouldn't necessarily know anything about these other characters. So if they only, so it's sort of like, you're only concerned with what's going on in your world, not what everybody else is doing.
I can see it from both sides there. There's pros and cons to both of them. The secrecy there. So, I mean, I'd say I'm not very good at being secretive with my script. You've gotten like the full script to...
Yeah, you've always sent out the full scripts.
Now for like bit parts, like smaller roles, I actually did only send like...
Yeah, I mean, if you've only got one scene in the whole movie, you really don't need to know everything else that's going on. But
so I guess I'm kind of mixed on both of that. If you're one of my main actors, then I will give you the full script. If you're not one of my main actors, then I'll give you just, your sides.
Yeah. But... yeah, I don't know. I guess the reason I've always read the entire script is I kind of want to see, with regards to the other characters, is my character connected to any of these other characters, because that helps to build history and context for the scene. But then I don't know. And
also, it's also easier to tell if you're actually reading a script that's actually really good that you want to be a part of.
That's true as well. Yeah, because I think a lot of actors do that too. You know, they read the whole thing because they're like, "Oh, this is excellent." Like
and I think with Christopher Nolan in particular, the reason why he can do it is because you're actually signed up to just for a Christopher Nolan movie. Christopher Nolan movies do great. There's not been a bad one so far. I mean, eventually there will be. I have no doubt. I mean, there's no way you can keep on making a good, but. I mean, there's just no way. If he ends up having like the perfect record of like the best movies all around and everything like that, I'd be mind-boggled.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody out there that's done that. Everybody's going to, whether you're a director, actor, writer, whatever, everybody's going to have a stinker every once in a while. You're just not going to hit it every time.
Yeah.
You're lucky. Most people are lucky if they have even one really great movie in their lifetime, but
they're signing up to a Christopher Nolan movie, so that's the big thing, is that they're like, he's got a pretty good track record. We're going to be in a Christopher Nolan movie, so
yeah.
And I will say, if I ever end up getting signed by Christopher Nolan at some point, I'd be like, yes, absolutely,
yeah. Sign me up for that for sure. But yeah, definitely go and check out Tenet. It is worth a watch, especially if you like action and sci-fi, because there is a little sci-fi element to it with the time travel. And it's a little bit, there's the kind of the spy aspect to it as well, with all the CIA stuff and everything. So it's kind of got a little bit of that James Bond sort of.
It's very interesting because Christopher Nolan has been on the producers of James Bond's list for a very long time, and he always says no. It's very curious. Why would you say no?
Yeah. It's if we ever end up doing the James Bond movies, that's going to take up at least half a season just talking about James Bond.
I've thought about that. Even the same with the Marvel movies, we end up doing that.
There's just so many. Man. Yeah, so
I've been thinking about that myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do those?
I don't know how that's going to play out. But yeah, definitely if you like those sort of movies, then you will enjoy Tenet. So so go and check it out when you have a chance, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. But anyway, I think we're just about out of time for today. But before you go, we just want to remind everybody, as always, to be sure to subscribe, like, and share to our YouTube channel. We will appreciate that so much. And when you do subscribe, be sure you tap that nice little bell icon, ding, and so you're getting all of the notifications whenever new content or episodes are posted. Also, don't forget to check us out on our socials. We're pretty much on all of the major social platforms, and we will have those links for you at the bottom of your screen. As well as down below in the video's description and in the closing credits at the end of every episode. So there's no way you can miss them. And there's plenty of other places where you can catch the podcast as well besides YouTube. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, a bunch of other places. And again, we will have those links for you available as well. And leave your comments and questions for us. That's the big thing that we're really encouraging people to do right now, is to get in on the conversation. And we've heard a little bit from you all here and there, but we want to hear more. So let us know what you think of the podcast. Is there anything in particular that you would like to hear us talk about in future episodes? And just leave your comments about each week's episode, and kind of leave your feedback. What did you get out of the movie or show or whatever it is that we're talking about? And you can leave those comments on our YouTube channel or on our socials. And you can also email us at kimmelandcox@gmail.com. That's our official podcast email. So talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. And Also, be sure to support us by going to our Patreon page. We've got some pretty cool stuff on there for you. We think it's cool anyway, but it's a way for you to get involved in a different sort of way and to actually be able to contribute to the podcast.
You'd actually be you'd basically be a producer. You'd be helping us produce this podcast.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Whenever you're doing any kind of production, it doesn't matter whether it's a film or TV show, music video, or whatever. There is production costs involved with everything. And so, I mean, that's what they do in the movies. That's what a producer does. The producer basically finds the money or provides the money for the production. And right now we're just being honest. We're doing this out of our own pockets. Everything we're doing, which is fine. I mean, we can do that, but there's always going to be a limit. Mm-hmm. When you're paying for everything yourself, you're funding everything yourself, there's always kind of going to be a ceiling. There's going to be a kind of a cap as far as what we can do in terms of.
We don't actually have the best equipment we're working with here. We've worked with it's the best that we can come up with.
Right, and it's working. Obviously, it's working, and Dylan's been doing a tremendous job with editing each episode and adding nice little graphics and clips and all kinds of things.
Not
just to
a
make
very
it more
easy task, I tell you. I've been doing it on an iPad, not a laptop, not a computer.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work, and it's we want to get to a point where we are bringing you the most professional, best quality podcast that's going to keep you guys coming back every week and keep you watching, and so contributing on Patreon is certainly a way that you can help us to do that. Next week we are going to be talking about I don't know if it would be considered a classic or not, but maybe for some it is. It's certainly
cult classic. Let's say
cult classic. Yes,
yeah.
It's certainly spoofing a lot of classic martial arts movies, Bruce Lee movies, and things like that. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Kung Pao Enter the Fist. So you're not going to want to miss that. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. But that's all we've got for today, and we certainly hope you'll join us next week. But until then, be good to yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
You dipstick.